Warden Zekthor had seen thousands of prisoners pass through the detention levels of Station Omega-7, but never one quite like Marcus Chen. The human had arrived 3 cycles ago, shackled and supposedly subdued after his capture during the failed rebellion on Kepler 442b. The Galactic Enforcement Corps had branded him a terrorist, a dangerous insurgent who needed to be contained until his trial. That was before everything changed. Zekthor's 4 eyes scanned the security feeds with growing unease. What he saw defied every protocol, every expectation, every carefully maintained order that had kept Detention Block C functioning for decades. The human wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. More troubling still, he was leading. It had started small. Marcus had somehow convinced the Zalaxian in Cell 47 to share his ration supplements. Within days, he'd negotiated a truce between the warring Krillian gang members who'd been terrorizing the weaker inmates. By the end of the first week, prisoners were voluntarily gathering around his cell during recreation periods, listening as he spoke in that calm, measured tone that seemed to cut through species barriers like a plasma torch through hull plating. "Status report," Zekthor commanded as his subordinate, Lieutenant Vex, approached with a datapad clutched in his scaled hands. "Sir, the situation in Block C continues to evolve." Vex's translator device struggled with the diplomatic phrasing. The human has established what can only be described as a command structure. He's assigned roles, created work details, and somehow convinced the inmates to maintain their own discipline. Zekthor's mandibles clicked in agitation. Impossible. These are violent criminals, pirates, and dissidents. They don't cooperate, they destroy. Perhaps you should see for yourself, sir. The warden's hooves echoed against the metal flooring as he made his way to the observation deck overlooking Block C. What he witnessed through the reinforced transparasteel made his twin hearts skip in rhythm. The cell block was organized, immaculate even. Inmates moved with purpose, their previous sullen shuffling replaced by efficient coordination. Near the central area, a massive Gorvani, notorious for eating smaller species, was carefully teaching a group of juvenile Pictiari how to repair electronic components. In another corner, former enemies shared meals and played games that the human had apparently invented using scraps and imagination. At the center of it all sat Marcus Chen, cross-legged on the floor of the communal area, his dark hair slightly graying at the temples, his brown eyes alert and calculating. He was speaking to a mixed group of aliens, using hand gestures and sketches on improvised paper to illustrate some point. Zekthor activated the audio feed. "The key is resource optimization," Marcus was saying, his voice carrying easily across the space. "We have 17 different species here, each with unique abilities. Korath's people can see in spectrums we can't imagine. The Zalaxians process mathematical concepts faster than our computers. The Thylorians have perfect memory recall. Instead of fighting each other, we leverage these strengths. A scarred Bralaxian warrior, imprisoned for destroying an entire mining operation, raised a clawed hand. But human Marcus, why should we trust? Why should we follow a prisoner like ourselves?" Marcus smiled, that peculiar human expression that somehow conveyed both warmth and determination. "Because I'm not asking you to follow me. I'm asking you to follow an idea. The idea that we're better together than apart. That even in here, even as prisoners, we can build something meaningful." Zekthor felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. This was exactly what the Enforcement Corps had feared about humans, their terrifying ability to inspire unity among disparate groups. In less than 3 cycles, this one human had accomplished what the Galactic Council had been trying to achieve for centuries: true interspecies cooperation. "Sir," Vex whispered, "there's more. The human has been making requests through proper channels, building materials, educational resources, even communication privileges for the other inmates to contact their families. He's turned the prisoner grievance system into something resembling governance." The warden watched as Marcus stood and began walking through the cell block. Inmates nodded respectfully as he passed, but it wasn't fear. It was genuine respect. He stopped to help an elderly Vraxan with mobility issues, spent several minutes listening to a young Kanthari's concerns about her upcoming trial, and somehow managed to diffuse a brewing argument between 2 rivals with nothing more than calm words and patient mediation. He's not building a rebellion, Zekthor realized aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. He's building a civilization, Lieutenant Vex nodded grimly. Our psychological evaluators believe he's demonstrating classic human leadership patterns. They're social creatures who instinctively create order from chaos. Put them in any environment and they'll organize it. Through the transpersteel, Zekthor watched Marcus return to his cell, not because he was forced to, but because recreation period was ending, and he respected the schedule he'd helped the inmates establish. Even in captivity, even stripped of freedom, the human had found a way to lead. The warden's communication device chimed. A priority message from Galactic Enforcement High Command. Prisoner Marcus Chen's trial has been indefinitely postponed. New intelligence suggests his detention serves a valuable research purpose. Maintain current status. Do not interfere with subjects' activities unless safety protocols are compromised. Zekthor closed his eyes. All four of them. They weren't studying a prisoner anymore. They were studying the future. And if one human could transform a maximum security detention block into a functioning society in 3 cycles, what could humanity accomplish when truly unleashed upon the galaxy? As if sensing his thoughts, Marcus looked up directly at the observation deck. Despite the one-way transperisteel, the human smiled and nodded, a gesture of acknowledgement between equals. The warden shuddered. Marcus Chen might be contained within the walls of Detention Block C, but somehow, impossibly, he had made those walls irrelevant. The human had indeed turned his cell block into a base, and from that base he was quietly demonstrating why humanity would never truly be imprisoned.